All right, let me take off these glasses so I can see.
That's funny.
I'm on chapter 14 of The Snake.
The Snake 2020 differentiate. Yes, okay.
It's a muggy, hot night in Los Angeles, or rather, where we are, in Long Beach. And I've had a glass of cold water here to keep me hydrated as I begin reading the story of this brother's adventure in Ghana. And like I said, we're on page 14, on chapter 14. He and his girlfriend have gone to visit Nana Oparabea, who was a clairvoyant
All right.
in the little town. The little town of Latte has a big time spiritual significance. People, when I first went there, it was a place where a lot of people from the United States went to, most of the people in the religion who would pay a visit to Africa, and specifically to this place. Nana Oparabea was like the queen mother of the whole situation. Anyway, they had visited her, and here we are now. He felt a low-grade voltage slowly spread from his right hand to every part of his body. She released his hand, and the voltage eased away. He felt cleansed by the experience. The Ochame led him back to his seat and whispered, "You may contribute something to the shrine if you care to." The Ochame is the spokesperson. When the English first came, the rulers didn't speak. They had, I guess they might be called in-between people, the connecting link.
Ambassador or
The spokesperson. And so many times, it comes all the way down to right now, where the Ochame sometimes can have as much power as the ruler, because the ruler is the ruler. And the spokesman is supposed to be giving an interpretation of what the ruler wants. In this case, anyway, that's the translation for Ochame.
Okay.
You may contribute something to the shrine if you care to. Kojo fumbled from his pocket into his pocket and pulled out 10,000 cedis. "Thank you." The man bowed elegantly and returned to his duties. The young man who had led them in stood by to take them out. Kojo turned to take one last look at the scene. The queen mother on her throne, relaxed, wise, giving advice. "How long has Nana been doing this?" he asked the young man. "Oh, many years, sir, many years." "How old is she?" Grace popped into the middle of the young man's hesitation. "No one really knows. Some say 90, some say 190. No one really knows." The young man nodded in agreement, and they were back on the main street, a part of the inevitable stream of people. The car was waiting, the driver trying to disguise his disgust for their visit to a pagan place. Tamara's, the hotel restaurant establishment on the gentle slope of a low mountain. This is a photo of Tamara's.
All right. Let us zoom in on Tamara's. Okay.
As you can see, they have cold beer and a very groovy atmosphere.
A very groovy atmosphere.
I'd love to be in Tamara's right now, especially for the cold beer.
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
There we have it. They sat at a table on the edge of the veranda overlooking fields and forests. "Grace, I'm telling you, Nana looked right through me. I felt that I was being x-rayed." Grace leaned forward with interest. "Strange, you know, the effect that she has on people. This is the first time I've heard someone speak of being x-rayed. A girlfriend of mine spoke of feeling as though she was floating when Nana shook her hand. And electricity shot through me when she shook my hand. Did I mention that? What happened to you? Well, nothing quite as exciting as being x-rayed or electrified. I was told to be calm, to maintain my tranquility. What does that mean? It means that I should be calm, maintain my tranquility.
There you go.
They exchanged silly, loving smiles and stared out of the valley below, each lost in his private thoughts. Nana Parabea knows about my thing with Asiafo. She knows. She didn't veto it. She didn't speak against it. She just said, be careful. I will be careful. They had baby barracuda and salads for lunch and kicked back with chilled bottles of beer. A cloudless sky hung overhead. Kojo felt something of the mood that Visconti had set in his movie, The Garden of the Finti Continis. The kind of mood that denied that there was a dirty, rotten world out there waiting to smear itself all over you. Kojo, you ever think about living in Ghana here? The question was softly spoken, but intense. He took a long sip of his beer to gather his thoughts. Grace, let me share some thoughts with you. I don't know if they will answer your question, but it'll tell you how I feel. She nodded him on. Since my first visit here at 17, when I met you, a part of me has always lived in Ghana here. That's the spiritual section. Physically, I couldn't actually live in Ghana or in any developing country. The frustrations are too great. The bureaucracy is too burdensome. The technology that I need to work with isn't here. Honestly, I can see myself going crazy in a week. Are those the only considerations? What do you mean? I don't understand. What about your emotions? Don't they play a part in the way that you want to live your life? Oh, hell yes, of course, emotions. I'm emotional by nature. But I'm also realistic. I know what the emotional binge can lead to, an inevitable letdown. You detected a shadow of disappointment cross her face as she asking me to stay in Ghana without really coming out loud with it. So you're going back to the America you have no patriotism for, to a land that hasn't earned your love? Oh, so now we're going to play a little hardball, huh? You're right on both points. I'm going back to a country I have no patriotism for, not in the sense you feel patriotic about Ghana, and it is a land that hasn't earned my love, but there are other considerations. The first consideration is that I have to get back as much of what America owes me as I possibly can. You don't give up hundreds of years of unpaid labor and forget about it. We could be going into the 90th generation of my grandchildren before America could begin to deal with some of the interest or the principal that's owed us. He watched her slowly turn her glass around in the coaster, obviously thinking of what he'd said. You know, sometimes I feel that I can come close to understanding how Black Americans, African Americans feel about some things. But then I find myself totally at sea, like someone who's made a wrong turn in the middle of the ocean. Grace, that's the difference. We can't afford to feel like that, like we made a wrong turn in the middle of the ocean. The minute we all fall prey to that kind of thinking, we're lost. We have to keep our compasses firmly focused on the middle passage and what that meant. Yes, Kojo, what it meant, not what it means today. There comes a time when we have to forget some things, move on. He felt a cold anger swell in his head and subside. This is just a serious conversation, nothing more. Don't get crazy. Grace, I know what you're saying, and I know you mean well, But let me lay something on you that my grandfather, my grandmother, my dad, my mom have been laying on me all my life. If they told me this once, they've told me this 1,000 times. Kojo, don't listen to the people who tell you, forget about your history. Forget about the degradation of slavery and the aftermath. Forget about who you are and what kind of strength it took for you to become what you are. We African Americans are the only people on the planet that they talk their garbage to. They wouldn't dare say anything like that to the Jews or the Chinese or the Japanese or the Russians or anybody else. There seems to be a piece of advice that's reserved for us. You'll even have some Africans try to fling that garbage at your head. Don't listen to them. They're crazy. Grace stared at him for a few beats, an odd expression on her face. Kojo, you know something? You're right. It's true. I've never heard of any people being asked to forget who they are. I apologize. Your apologize is duly recorded and accepted. Now then, what's up for the night? I thought we could go clubbing a bit. Wow, you're really feeling lively, huh? I think it's you, Kojo. I think it's you. I hope so. The Bomb's Tavern. What a strange name for a bar. He stood in the patio waiting for Grace to come out of the ladies' Bomb Tavern, a series of connected rooms, mirrors here and there, a strobe lit dance floor, blasting music. He judged the crowd to be upper yuppie, whatever the Ghanaian version of an animal was. Several men strolled in, holding their mobile phones at the ready. Kojo smirked at the sight. I don't know who you plan to talk to in here. Boom, boom. Grace shouted above the noise of the rap music. Where do you want to sit? He pointed to a corner table, a vantage point to see and be seen. An exorbitant price for 2 beers and effervescent dancing crowd. Kojo led Grace out onto the floor for a punishing session of shake your booty. 15 minutes later, they left the dance floor wet with sweat. I needed a workout like that, he shouted into her ear. They settled back enjoying the dances. Funny, when African women do their cultural dances, the tribal things, they seem so free and loose. When they get outside of that into this other kind of rhythm, they dance like robots. After a couple of more dances, Grace signaled as she wanted to bail out. I'm with you, baby, I'm with you. They were still shouting at each other outside before they realized they had left the music noise inside. Grace dissolved against him, laughing at the absurdity of it all. They shared a long, passionate kiss in the taxi on the way to Jimmy's jazz joint. If we're lucky, we'll catch someone good for the last set. They were in love. The trio, piano, bass, wire brushing drummer, was in the middle of a jazz seance when they self-consciously sneaked into a ringside table. Gin and tonics, a lovely lady, sophisticated music. Kojo leaned into the music feeling slightly like a traitor to his peer group. I can blame a lot on Dad and my uncles. They spoiled me with Miles, Diaz, Bird, that's the young lady, Day, Earl Garner, Bud Powell, Mink, Monk, Mingus, Trains, Horace Silvers, Cecil Taylor, David Murray, Mongo, Armando Barata, people like that. The pianist, a sharp-featured, brooding giant of an African man, finished off Night and Day with a baroque flourish and announced as a half-filled room. We'll be back after the short intermission. Stay with us. Stay with us. Who else could you go and hear? Where else could you go and hear Oscar Peterson in Accra on a Tuesday night, or is it Wednesday or Thursday? Yes, it's Thursday now. 12:15. Thursday, yeah. Grace, did you just hear what I just heard? Yes, he is marvelous, isn't he? Who is he? I don't know. I've never seen him before. Kojo shook his head with disbelief and glanced around the club. A standing collection of Europeans, most of the men with African women. they must dream about black women in Europe. And when they get here, they just there must be some kind of heaven. Grace, tell me something. She leaned close, a little tipsy, and gave him a sexy stare. Tell me what you want to know. Why is jazz so unpopular in Ghana here? I wouldn't say it's unpopular, but it certainly doesn't compete with country and western.
Okay.
She chucked him under the chin as though to say, hey, come on, guy, let's not take everything too seriously. Kojo caved in immediately. Yeah, why make a federal case out of everything? An hour later, they strolled away from the club, bubbling with good vibes. I've never heard anybody play like that. That man is a damn genius. Did you hear how he wove slices of Grieg's piano concerto into the bebop piece he played? What's bebop? He paused to stare at Grace in the light of a full moon. What is / was bebop? We are from different worlds, aren't we? Bebop. It was a jazz form way back in my dad's day. Oh, I see. They strolled on, casually looking for a taxi, enjoying each other's company. Grace, you know something? I'm going to make an honest confession to you. She placed her fingers on his lips. No, please, not now, not tonight. Let's have this moment. He sprawled in bed, watching every delightfully feminine move she made, stepping into the bubblegum pink panties, fastening the wisp of her brow across her full, firm, up-tilted breast, the lipstick, the tropical cloth wrapped around her body. Can I help you do something? She sat on the side of the bed and smiled at him. If you do one more thing, I won't go to my office this morning. He mugged a bit and folded his arms across his chest, pantomiming a hands-off stance. She leaned over and kissed him on each eyelid and finally on the mouth. I won't be gone all day. It shouldn't take more than 4 or 5 hours to do what I have to do. It mostly involves cracking the whip at my staff, making them sit up, as we say in Ghana here. Do what you have to do. I'll be here when you get back. You will? She sounded grateful. Yes, you know, of a better place to be. She winked lasciviously and stood up, ready to go and do battle with her staff. There are eggs and a bit of fish if you like something to eat. Sip a little scotch, listen to some music, and we'll go out somewhere and have something when you get back. She stunned him by pulling his head between her hands to plant a big kiss on his lips. I love you, Kojo. She spoke in a quiet voice and dashed out of the bedroom. See you this afternoon, he called to her. Aha! The apartment was quiet, Grace's perfume lingering on the air. Kojo laced his hands behind his head and stared out of the window at the drifting clouds. I love you. I wonder if she really meant that, or if it was just one of those impulsive things. Do I love her? The question stirred him out of bed. He surrounded a towel around his waist and went to the record shelf. Let's see what we have here for Thursday mood. Slightly cloudy. Miles Davis kind of blue. Perfect. He placed the disc on the turntable, poured himself 2 fingers of scotch. What the hell? This is my last week in Ghana. And strolled to the window, sipping. He stared at the passing scene as though it were a film. The women peddling things, food, whatever, from trays on their heads. Whoever thought of carrying stuff on your head and strapping babies onto your back? Muscular young black men building something across the road, digging into the earth, sweating, laughing, and joking with each other. Why don't we get an earth mover to gouge that out? The haunting music Coal Train flowing into Cannonball Adderley, Wynton Kelly flowing back into Miles created a mood he felt at ease with. The scenes from the window made him feel uneasy. The little girls carrying loads on their heads that he wouldn't even think about lifting. The muddy, rutted road, the men laboring across the road. Nobody singing, lift that barge, tote that bell, get a little junk and you land in jail. Or any other song. They cracked jokes, he could tell from the explosions of teeth from time to time. But it was at the survival level, laughing to keep from crying.
Wow.
He looked around the apartment, studied the conveniences, the telephone, the television, the grundmajestic sound system, the hedonistic layout. The place was plush, an asylum from the outside world, the third world. Maybe she designed it that way. He left the window and sprawled on the sofa, slightly high from the scotch and the music.
I bet.
I bet. You better believe it. Scotch can do some funny stuff to you. You think it's like drinking cough medicine or something.
Yeah.
So I'm going back to America to become Kojo Brown, big-time producer, writer, director, master of my destiny, and captain of my soul. All I have to do is marry a Kuzwa Ferguson and feed a visitor when it comes. What could be simpler than that? He replaced Kind of Blue with This Is Night in Tunisia. But the sister really got a hell of a collection here. And I was trying to rag her about how unpopular jazz is in Ghana. He dolloped a couple more fingers of scotch in his glass and wandered through the apartment. It could be any apartment anywhere, except that it's not. There's only a cold water tap and it's not flowing. And the people all around me are speaking Ewe, Tree or Ga or whatever, and I am an African American. He saw it as a glittering veil slowly settling into place, backlit by a phosphorescent light, laced through with a desperately lonely music. The blues, that's what I'll use for my silent film. A silent film. The idea had grabbed him years before during his undergraduate time in USC, when he realized that the Hollywood movie industry had bypassed serious African-American films during their silent era. Chaplin, yes. Birth of a Nation and all the rest of the garbage, but no authentic, silent African-American themes done well. I'm going to do an African-American silent film. I'll dedicate it to the memory of Oscar Michaud, an African-American filmmaker who was before his time. It was time to eat something. Kojo, I must warn you, these are a bunch of very conservative Ghanaians. Don't get your hopes up. He nodded. A mellow high in his guts from a morning of scotch sipping, kinky fish pepper eating, and serious thinking. Grace had come home with an invitation to an afternoon party. Partay. It's almost an obligatory thing, you know what I mean? She did it for me, now I've got to do it for her. A pain in the ass, if you ask me. Kojo, in his relaxed state of mind, cooled his lady out. Hey, Grace, come on, baby. Just be real about things. A social obligation is a social obligation.
There you go.
He could tell from the way she was redressing that it was going to be a special occasion, whatever it was. Grace, gotta stop at my place for a sec. I feel the urge for a soup for this one. The desk clerk simply lowered his lower jaw and let it hang there.
You again?
Whoever paid money for a room and didn't live in it. Kojo dressed quickly and carefully. Black leather Moroccan loafers, sea blue socks, egg yellow political suit, collarless. Kojo, you look very nice. Thank you, sweet fan. He felt himself falling into a groove with Grace. She was an honest woman who knew how to cover his back and his front. An afternoon party, Ghanaian style, someplace deep in Laboni. Charity, this is my friend Kojo. You are welcome. Please come in. Kojo placed one camera at the indoor second floor level to pan scan the sparkling, glittering cloud, and another camera in a corner, like a burglar camera, stealing shots at people who wandered within range. Grace, please introduce your friend around. I must see to the food. That was one of the things he truly liked about the Ghanaian sense of hospitality, the introductions.
Yes.
No matter if there were 20 people or 200, each person was introduced to the others as he or she came in. Kojo contrasted that way of doing things with the number of times he'd been invited to sets in the States, where he came in not knowing anybody but the host and left not knowing anybody else. The obligatory handshake, the men doing the middle finger pop that he loved, the women mostly holding their hands out like dead fish. Grace, what's the occasion? Nothing special. Charity and Veronica like to give these little get-togethers from time to time. Veronica, did I meet her? Yes, there, the tall one. Kojo lifted a glass from a passing tray and checked the situation out closely. Grace, he whispered, are these two lesbians?
Oh, interesting.
I really can't say. I know they've been roommates in secondary school, and as you can see, they're quite successful.
Right.
Quite successful. The two-story house with the winding staircase, I could just see Rhett Butler carrying Scarlett O'Hara up the staircase.
For real.
The expensive, clean linen Scandinavian furniture, the clean-cut, expensively dressed partygoers. Kojo wandered away from Grace as she held an animated conversation with a large woman wearing an enormous turban. I'll have to ask somebody about the sexual thing here, especially the lesbian number. He meandered out onto the back patio where there were more glamorously dressed people. Talk about colors and beautiful people.
Nice.
You got the impression they all knew each other, that they were a social set. Oh, there you are. I can't afford to let you out of my sight. There are some absolutely rapacious women here. Oh yeah? Where? Here's one here, right here. Grace spoke in a low voice before greeting the Halle Berry type swimming through the mix. Grace! How nice to see you! He watched him perform that little cheeky, kissy thing.
Please.
And who is this lovely boy? The lady had an upper crust British accent and the bold eyes to go with it. This is my very close friend. Very close friend, Kojo Brown from America. Oh, America. I was just there last month in Chicago.
Really?
As a matter of fact. Kojo, this is Salena-Hawkins. How do you do? And how'd you like Chicago? Your first time there? Salena-Hawkins was half high from something other than liquor. Marijuana maybe, or cocaine, or maybe just simply uppers. He could tell from the jerky way she talked. And the sister is fine too. One of these dull yellow women with all the tits and ass you'll ever see. Yeah, stay close to me, Grace. Chicago, yes, I know that. Quite often I have friends on the Gold Coast, on the near north side in Chicago. I'm familiar with the place. I was born there. She linked her arm through his left arm and tried to steer him away, but Grace counterattacked with a firm grip around his waist. Kojo felt that he was being fought over, a flattering feeling. When she realized that she wasn't going to be able to steer him away, she dug down in her camera-sized purse and pulled out a card. Here's my card. Do call me anytime. I should be so much, I should like so much to talk to you about Chicago. Grace, see you later. Grace waved her away with a frozen smile. Kojo, feeling devilish, decided to egg the situation on. She seems like a nice person. She's a fucking nymphomaniac. That's what she is. She's probably slept with half the man here. Kojo took a closer look at the beautiful woman.
Oh my.
Kojo took a closer look at the beautiful woman doing a social butterfly number through the crowd. The three faces of Eve. Hard to tell about a woman. They can look one way and be the complete opposite. A nymphomaniac. The music was low-keyed and rhythmic, just dynamic enough to add a little spice to the mix. Oh, Kojo, you haven't had any food. Let me get you something. If Selena comes back, don't go with her. Don't go any place with that woman. Kojo laughed at the serious expression on Grace's face. Don't worry, Grace. I can only handle one nympho at a time. She pouted a kiss at him and eased away to the buffet. He held his ground, sipping his white wine, studying the mix. It could be a gathering of black folks in California, or Hyde Park, Chicago, or New York.
Really?
Except for the real dark ones who are obviously Africans. The rest of us have what Granddad calls that Creole look. There wasn't as much dipping in the knees. The men didn't assume the kind of hip postures that the brothers would have fallen into, and there was definitely a more English air about the people. But for all that, he still saw more in common than the opposite. There's got to be a film here too, somewhere. The Pan-African connection. Yes, food for the starving man. I thank you, sweet thing. They occupy 2 garden chairs. My God, what is all this on this plate? I didn't know what you'd like, so I just put a little of everything. Succulent salmon patties, jollof rice, black-eyed peas, cucumber and tomato salad. This is delicious.
It looks delicious right now.
Charity and Veronica have a woman cooking for them for years now. I think her name is Faustina. Faustina Aheniwa.
Yeah.
Oh, are you familiar?
Yes, she's
Yes, you know
delicious. And she gives good hugs too.
Yeah, she was also the chef that the cook at the Acacia Lodge.
Exactly.
Of course.
Okay.
Dinner done, they stacked their half-empty plates on a passing tray, pulled glasses of wine from another tray, and sat looking at the thinning crowd. Kojo, you know, I'm beginning to feel guilty about monopolizing your time. You couldn't do it if I didn't want you to do it. I'm glad you said that. And besides, I didn't come here to run all over the place. I've seen people do that. They come to our crowd, trip up to Tamale or Kumasi and then to Cape Coast and run through a few slave warehouses and jump back on the plane. I'll be satisfied to be in Africa. I'm satisfied being in the Africa I've been in. She smiled at his double entendre and squeezed his hand. He felt turned on. Well, I thought, since we're all dressed up and everything, we could go to the National Theater to see the Ghana National Dance Ensemble. Grace, you're wonderful. You know that? You're wonderful. I learned that from a friend of mine named Reverend Edwin O'Forty Bar, who could say, you are wonderful in a way that I've never heard it said before.
An excellent way, yes.
Yes, Reverend Edwin O'Forty Bar in Accra.
Amen.
The mood was mellow after the party, the good food, the vibes as well. A well-mixed drink in the Novotel bar, a performance by the Ghana National Dance Ensemble. What could be better? He had the feeling he was seeing a number of the same people in the National Theater he'd seen at the party. Gracie, is this my imagination? She glanced around. No, not really. There's a sort of elite in Accra here. The middle-class people can afford to have expensive parties and go to performances at the National Theater. Someone has to do it. The performance started half an hour late, early by Ghanaian time standards.
Right.
Sections of the dance pieces made him laugh out loud, enjoying the dilemma of the village dandy who has dug himself a hole he can't crawl out of. Which of the 3 maidens that he has seduced will he marry? Solution: marry all 3. Just the outrageous energy of the ensemble made him feel that they were bankrupting themselves with every movement, every gesture. He whispered in Grace's ear, I'd be tired for a week if I did any of this. They can't afford to be tired. Some of them work during his day, others at night. I suspect that some of them are going to work after this is over. Kojo looked at the ensemble with newfound respect, and the artist thinks he's got it rough in the States. They strolled along the beach in front of the Riviera Hotel, shoes in hand, enjoying the cool night-washed ocean air. It was time to go behind the scenery. Grace, I started to tell you something early, but you cut me off. The ocean flushed. White captured them from far out. This is where they loaded us. Into sardine cans, tightened the screws, and shipped us off into nowhere.
Wow, what a thought. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just had a feeling from the way you were looking that it just wasn't something I wanted to hear at the moment. Should I cancel out again? No, please. Say what's on your mind. So many stars, so black, so big. What did they think when they had a chance to look up at the sky in the middle of the Middle Passage? Today, just before you dashed off to work, you said, "I love you." Do you remember? She nodded yes. Scuffling grooves in the tightly packed sand. I thought about that all day. I've been thinking about a lot of things about us. That's why I started off saying I wanted to make an honest confession to you. She stopped, looked at him with a calm expression on her face, calm but expectant. Grace, I already have someone in my life back in the States. That's what I want to tell you. She strolled on, gazing out to sea. So I can't love you because you love someone else? He had to sift the words through his mind to make certain that he really understood what she was saying. That does complicate things a bit, doesn't it? Grace sank down on the sand and patted the place beside her for him to sit. When she spoke, it sounded like a low-pitched drone. Kojo, do you know for most of my life I have been directed. I was told to do this, and I was told to do that, and I did what I was told because it was expected of me. When we first met, I was close to being a religious fanatic because those were my instructions. I don't have to tell you what I was like. I'm sure you remember. They traded smiles. Yeah, I remember well. You were a liberating force for me, and I didn't truly understand that until you went back. I love you for what you did with me. Yes, I said love you, and I mean it, and I'm not saying I love you because I need to return to this love. Are you getting me? I love you for the way you are with me, for the way you've been with me. I would be a fool to think that you were in America with all of the beautiful women there and that you didn't have someone. I don't feel that it has anything to do with me. Please forgive me, but I want my happiness with you. I don't want to think of others. When I received your letter saying you were returning, I started cleaning up my act, as you say in America. I sat down in front of my mirror and talked to myself. I wanted to have you. I wanted you to have me, the new me. And I didn't want big, heavy strings attached to any of it. I prayed when you came, whether you spent an hour, a week, or a month with me. I was going to try to do everything in my power to please you, to have a time that I could always remember. They didn't see the jagged flashes of lightning far at sea as they smothered each other in their arms. And outdoor? No, baby, I think I have to take a rain check on that one. 6 a.m. is a bit too early for me to salute the newcomers. Have you been to an outdoor? Grace, I was outdoor, my grandfather was outdoor, my uncles were outdoor. That's unusual for Americans, isn't it? Yeah, you got that right, but you have to keep in mind, I come from an unusual family. Oh, I see. They sat up in bed eating cookies and drinking beer.
That's a combination.
That love, boy, that love thing.
Okay.
You know, chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip, no less.
Finding out more about each other every minute.
That's cute.
So you go to welcome the newborn baby into the community. Everybody gets a chance to say, I was there when you came into the world. A lot of drinks and served. And everybody goes away happy. She laughed at his version of an outdooing. Well, there's a little bit more to it than that, but I guess you could say that's basically it. Roberta Flack was singing "The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face."
Yes.
They were silent, sipping their beers and listening to the words of the song. Kojo reached over to take Grace's glass, placed both of their glasses on the bedside table, and gently pulled her down under the covers. "I love you too, Grace." An hour later, Kojo was awakened by the feeling of someone else in the room. He opened his eyes without moving his head. Grace slept with her head against his left shoulder. He slowly swept his eyes from right to left, looking hard into the shadowed spaces. Nothing. What's the matter with me? Juliet of the Spirits, 8.5. Federico Fellini's man could make a film. The way he used Marcello Mastroianni to say what he wanted to say. That's what I need. I need an actor, an actress with a lot of depth and ingenuity. Why can't I sleep anymore? Why the sounds of things or whatever the hell it is waking me up? Beautiful, beautiful Grace. Maybe she's the one I should be marrying. No, not Grace. Grace wants to remain in her country and do something. It will have to be a Kuzuha. What if she says no? No, she wouldn't say no. What have we been edging up to for the last 2 years anyway? Get married and feed a visitor and wait for the goodies to drop into my lap. It sounds too simple. What's the angle? What's the catch? I have to put a tight organization together. No poop butts, flash men, cokeheads, or crazies. Names and telephone numbers whizzed through his head. Be cool. It's time to put it together. Be cool. He closed his eyes and tried to dream his way into the future. Kojo, I'm off. Off what? I'm off to the outdooring. Oh yeah, I forget. Have fun. Well, it won't be that exactly. It's more like a social obligation. Lots of social obligations in Ghana here. It's true. Oh, mentioning social obligation, my senior uncle is having a memorial service for his wife tomorrow afternoon. Memorial service for his wife? Yes, they were married for 25 years and she died 2 years ago. The memorial service commemorates her death. Wake keepings, funerals, outdoors, memorial service. Wow, you could get fat going to celebrate everything, huh? Some people overdo it. I must dash. What are you doing today? What are we doing today? I haven't made up my mind yet. How about a movie and a dinner this evening? You're on. Friday morning, the weekend is here, and Monday is on its way. He checked the bedside clock, 5:30 a.m., and fell back into an untroubled sleep, punctuated by random scenarios. Was the girl in Ramparts of Clay a slave? A member of a lower caste in the village? What? Beautifully photographed. How did they get those Berbers to act so natural? I'd like to go to Chito and do something like that. I'll bet Cool Hand Luke was really a black screenplay originally. All the elements are there. A rebellious black man who decides to defy the natural order of things just because he's got the devil in him. I can see it now, the meeting the producers had to make the decision. We gotta make this fucking thing white. First off, we don't have a black guy who could pull this off. Diesel wouldn't be believable. He's too hung up on being cute. McCoy is up to his ass in scripts. And Sidney, I don't know. Sidney's can't rebel so well. What do you think, Phil? Yeah, Cool Hand Luke was a black man's film until they turned it into a white movie. I wonder how many black screenplays have been turned into white movies. Raging Bull should have been the Sugar Ray Robinson story. Easy Rider was a black movie. Peter Fonda, with his connections and his father's profile, carried it off as a hippie. Oh well. Donald Bogle's Mammies, Coons, and Darkies, or was it Coons, Mammies, and something else, caused his limbs to twitch. All of the shit that I forced the USC Film Department to watch when I did my review of African Americans in American movies. I know they hated me after that. Even a couple of the brothers and sisters were upset. Oh, come on, Kojo, what's the point, man? The point is history, brother. The point is history. Don't you understand what happens when your history is stolen or degraded? But history is yesterday. No, no, no. History today, you fool. History is now. History lives. He woke himself up, clenching and unclenching his fists, alternately punching and strangling imaginary opponents. 9 a.m. Oh well, I guess it's time to get up anyway. He bathed. The water's on. Made tea and toast. Stood at the window. The workers across the road were gradually erecting a building. He could determine the outline of the structure. The women selling things from the trays on their heads were still there, passing in solitary review. The shoeshine boys made their shoeshine repair kits. It's timeless. I bet some of these things have been happening since the beginning of the begun. Dear Kuzawa, I'll probably be back before you receive this letter, but no matter, the important thing is the writing of it. As you know, I'm not a great one for social letter writing, but I feel compelled to do this one. I almost feel I should apologize for not overwhelming you with mail. Why? Because if there's anyone I have overloaded with my pet dreams and schemes, it's been you. And in some way I feel you should be rewarded for your fortitude. I've done a lot of thinking about it since I've been over here, what we've done and what we haven't done. One of the things I know we'll have to do is tighten it up. For many months you've given me enough rope to hang myself, but I've only succeeded in bungling the job. I'm going to use the rope to better advantage when I return. I hope all of this doesn't sound too far out for you. It's like I know what I'm talking about, and I feel you're on the same wavelength. A noise outside of the apartment. Grace coming in. Kojo covered up the letter he was writing with a book. No danger, false alarm. Someone stumbling upstairs with a load or something. 3 months. Does it mean 3 months from the day we made the deal? When I get back, I have less than 3 months. Why did I tell Grace I had another woman in my life back in the States? Akuzwa Ferguson, the other woman, the woman back home. He could think of 3 women he felt close to, but Akuzwa Ferguson was his main draw. He folded up the half-written letter and stuffed it into his pants pocket. How can I lay up here in this woman's house and write to another woman? Easy. He fumbled through the cassette Summer for a Friday. Bolero. Why not? Yes. Just the right piece. He adjusted the system and sprawled out on the sofa, listening to the intensity of the music building. Akuzwa Ferguson. The sister has a lot of heart. How do you go about bucking against the wishes of a couple right-wing thinking Negro-centric parents? All the way to changing her name from Cynthia to Akuzwa. Oh my. And telling them to stick the inheritance, the house, and all the rest of it up their booties if they didn't like what she was about. Akuzwa Ferguson, novelist, lovely woman, full of good vibes, independent thinking. He squeezed his eyes shut and held his hands to the side of his face. What have I been doing? We had a thing going on for almost 2 years, and I've never even introduced her to my folks. He quickly slipped past Marvina and Jackie, beautiful but basically empty. Marvina wants a new car every year, someone to fund her expensive habits, and Jackie lives in a dream world. Akuzwa, I owe you an apology. Here I am, thousands of miles away, and I suddenly realized I've been taking you for granted. I need to have my ass kicked. He felt pinpricks of anxiety. How's she going to take it when I propose to her, when I ask her to marry me? Am I going to ask her to marry me? He stood and slowly paced around the room. I can just see the expression on her face and the question she'll ask. Isn't this awfully sudden, Kojo? 3 fingers of scotch and more thoughtful pacing. Bolero was building to a crescendo. Should I tell the truth? Should I tell her the whole thing? No. Don't tell anybody else. It was a mistake to tell Grace. You'll have people thinking you've lost your mind. No one will ever take you seriously again. I'll call her. Yeah, I'll call her. Call her? After 5 minutes of, well, you know how you get crazy and start thinking. After 5 minutes of transatlantic negotiation, Akuzwa Ferguson was on the line. Kojo, what a nice surprise. I'm sorry that I wasn't in town when you left. I had this conference. I know, you told me about it. Look, of course, I'll be back on Tuesday. I need to get together with you. We need to talk. Kojo, bleep, 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 bleep. Kojo, I'm here. Is everything okay? You sound a little disturbed. Oh, I'm all right. I think it's the phone. Well, look, let's not spend a lot of time with AT&T. You want me to pick you up Tuesday? Give me the flight number and the time of arrival. He gave her the information and settled back on the sofa. Of course, well, I've missed you. I've missed you too, Kojo. See you Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday. Bye. He placed the phone in his cradle and felt a film of perspiration on his arm. Well, there's the opening pitch. Let's see how the game goes. They decided to go to the movies first. I go to sleep if I go to movies on a full stomach. I heard that. Well, let's make the 6:30 show and go Chinese after that. In the taxi to Ghana Films, Kojo could feel himself slipping away from Ghana, from the mood that had laid on him from Grace. He studied her profile, tried to read her mind. The sister laid some dynamite stuff on me last night. I wonder if she meant it. She turned toward him suddenly and flashed a big smile. Hello, beautiful. Hi, handsome. Ghana Films, Friday evening, 6:15 p.m. The couples had already formed the line. The choice was between Ghana Films and the Executive Theater. Grace offered the first veto of the Ghanaian movie. I don't think I could stand a Ghanaian movie tonight with the terrible sound and all of that. Well, let's see what's playing at the Executive. Coolie High.
Coolie High.
Grace, you're in love. Coolie High is what we call a sleeper. A sleeper, that doesn't sound promising. No, bear with me. Sleep is one of those better than average films that a lot of people overlook. I think you'll enjoy it. Glenn Turman was the star of Coolie High, a rite of African-American passage that made American graffiti look like phony money. They scrambled for the good seats in the center of the stadium-shaped theater. Kojo held Grace's hand, clearly excited by the idea of seeing an African-American film that he had studied and enjoyed half a dozen times. Michael Schultz, the director, Glenn Turman, the actor, and the other young black men and women in the film had opened themselves up for this one. The director hadn't asked them to dance out of church, the color purple, and prance down the road, waving their fingers like idiots. Or doing anything that wasn't them. And it showed in the finished script. Norman Lear liked the Eric Monte film so much he borrowed it for a stupid TV series. Kojo leaned back, fixing his director's cap on as the film started. He blinked at the wide, wavy line that floated across the screen. What the hell is that? Dirt on the projector lens? A scratch on the film? A damaged print? What the hell is that? And then the people behind him began to talk.
Oh, no.
It was a conversation that only dealt with the movie that a side view liked. Grace squeezed his hand, cooling him out. Kojo looked at the floor for a couple of beats, cooling himself out. How can people sit up here and watch a damaged print and talk like they're sitting in front of the TV sets? The film came to the inconclusive ending he didn't care for. The young blood who kills the other dude down under the L goes into the army, and that's the end of it. Flaw. That's the way it ends. Flaw. Serious flaw. He stood at the end of the film and turned to glare at the man and woman who would carry on the marathon conversation behind him. Why are you guys so quiet now? The movie is over.
Oh, Kojo.
The couple and several others within hearing distance looked at him, puzzled expressions riddling their faces. Grace tugged gently at his fingers as they joined the exiting crowd. They didn't speak until they reached the main road and started looking for a taxi. Grace, you got to explain this to me before I go nuts. Her signal pulled the taxi over for them. They hopped in. Let's go to Henlon's in La Bonne. Now, you say I should explain something to you? Kojo stared out of the window at the kerosene lamps marking the places where people were selling. He wasn't sure if he could phrase the question properly without making it sound as though he were condemning a whole nation. He decided to go at it in a circular way. Black people in the United States are just like black people here when it comes to talking in the theater, except that there's a difference. When you go to the upper crust theater, the sophisticated people, they go to see the movies, the foreign movies, stuff like that. It isn't likely they would have a running monologue with the screen. The people in the executive theater who pay twice the price that they would pay for a Ghana film ticket shouldn't be doing a running commentary. It doesn't add up. In addition to that big blue stripe, did you see that? How can you see a film with a blue stripe like a running across? He thought he could detect a sight of disgust in the downturned corners of her mouth. So what is your question? Are you asking me why people talk to the movie? Or why there was a blue stripe on the screen? Yes, the tone indicated a defensive posture. He decided to try to defuse the situation. I guess I don't really have questions. I'm just thinking out loud. Don't worry, I understand. It's not the first time I've heard foreigners express frustration with us. If you listen closely, we'll hear us do the same thing. My father used to write letters to the newspaper about different things all the time. It's just a theory, mind you, just a theory. But I have this notion in my head about us, about Ghanaians. We are really and truly a developing nation, what Mao Tse-tung called third world. That means that many things have not reached a certain level here. It means we don't have very high standards yet. When people come here, who can compare the excellent stuff to our mediocre stuff? Then, of course, we suffer by comparison. I would wager that there were people in the theater tonight who were not terribly put off by the blue stripe. Really? Remember, I'm just being theoretical. I can't say for sure. But I think we have a much more stoical, maybe fatalistic attitude toward things. Some people might think, a blue stripe, so what? At least we have the rest of the movie. So, the water is off. The electricity is on. God is great. Today is hot. Tomorrow it will be cool. Amen. I'm poor today. Tomorrow I will win the national lottery. Hallelujah. 5 of my children have died. We will have a 6th who will live. We cannot afford to become bogged down by what we don't have or what is not working. We are a very young nation, less than 50 years old, and much to be done, and we're doing it. We are going to do it. Hopefully, when you return to Ghana, there will be no longer a blue stripe in the film, but people will still be talking. And I'm in the chapter 14 and 15. I'm at 16.
Oh my goodness.
Went pretty fast, I hope.
Oh, it did. I thoroughly enjoyed it. My goodness.
It's going on.
Though, you know, I hope he tells her that he called on her phone.
No, that's one of those tragic areas that all slick people make. They think got to cover all the bases.
Well, when she gets her bill.
This is like my friend Clyde Jackson, mad mechanic. I went with him one day to fix a girlfriend's car. And he called up a repair place for, she needed some kind of part that cost $16. And he, you know, made sure the part was there. We were going to go over and pick it up. The interesting thing is that my friend, the mechanic, was about 5'6", 5'7". The lady's car he was fixing was 6'1", weighed about 175 pounds, and she was no punk.
Right.
She came home, and the first thing he said was, "Look, it's going to cost between $1,200 and $1,500 to do what needs to be repaired." She said, "Well, how do you know that?" He said, "Well, I checked." She said, he didn't have a cell phone at the time. She said, "Oh, you checked, huh?" He said, "Yeah, I checked." And she went to the phone and dialed her.
She
had all of his stuff.
Oh, my.
And she turned to him and said, "Get out of here.
Oh, wow.
Get out of here." And he was busted. He told me, this is the situation that might be the case with Kojo.
Well, Grace is very understanding, very
yeah.
sympathetic, yeah.
So.
Well,
That's it.
yes. Okay, thank you very much for the reading of chapters 14 and 15 of The Snake 2020.
Snake 2020.
All right, and it can be purchased on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or your local bookstore. Your website is www.odiehawkins.com, and you are also on the Amazon authors page.
Lovely.
All right, just Google Odie Hawkins and you'll see a lot of YouTube and Facebook and videos here, there, and everywhere. If you enjoyed this moment in time, please subscribe to our channel and we will see you next time.
At this moment in time.
At this moment in time.
See you tomorrow.
Ah.
Yeah, see you tomorrow. We're going to go through this because I'm involved with it now. What's going to happen?
Yes.